All right, we are live for the Monday morning market meltdown check-in. And yeah, back at it again, man. We last streamed maybe 12 hours ago, and concerns was, would it spill over into the US markets? And clearly it has. And so yeah, just literally just plugging in a couple minutes ago, knowing and anticipating what was coming, didn't even really want to start my day off with focusing on this, because at this current moment, whatever we're witnessing is well beyond our control. And it's more so now just wait and see how the Fed responds. And so as of now, I got a headline here where one of the Chicago Federal Reserve employees mentioned that there will be some intervention. So if it hasn't happened already, probably before today the market's in, there might be some type of emergency response. But I came across an interesting video from Fox News highlighting a historic moment this Monday, and it has to do with the NASDAQ, and we're going to touch on that in a minute. But the particular tweet that I saw this from referenced that as of this morning thus far, is only an hour plus and some change, 1.93 trillion has been transferred or vanished or vanquished or whatever we want to call it. And I'd imagine for those who are solely dependent upon the upward trajectory of their accounts when they log into their phone, it could be a concern for a lot of people. But then again, that's where we're at. That's where the world is. And now it's more so, what do you do with the information that's presented in front of you? So we're going to talk about that. And let's look at some figures, look at some numbers and to it, because ain't no telling if I'm taken off before. But here we got S&P performance right now. And so Friday when we ended, it was just medium red, and now it's dark red all the way throughout. And markets as of right now are not too stable. And I haven't even looked at the overall the global economy. I didn't even see how Asia ended up for the day. But let me just go back to the beginning, man, and get back to the beginning of everything here. So as always, for those who are new, never know who might be new. These are the things I've been talking about forever. I'm happy, more than excited to have my partners from colonialsmetals.com, the individuals that help with people taking physical possession of their retirement portfolios via a self-directed IRA. So if you have interest, assuming if you've been a part of the community, you've looked into things such as this. But once again, a trusted source that I believe is solid. But once again, this is an opportunity to take possession of what is yours through a self-directed IRA with gold and silver. So if you guys are interested in finding out more, click the link in the description or give them a call. Speak to the experts, get your questions answered while time remains, because the markets what we're witnessing now is tremors, and the Fed will respond and juice markets back up if they choose to. But once again, it only further erodes the purchasing power of our currency. So no matter what, whether it's a market correction, a currency crisis, or a debt implosion, one of those three will occur in some order. So no matter what, don't be trapped in their system. Take possession of what is yours, in my humble opinion. Colonials Metals Group can help you do that. So if you guys are interested, click the link in the description, find out more. And yeah, you'll be very happy that you took action to protect and preserve yourself. And then also this morning, as I mentioned, working out, and I was thinking, like, given all the stuff that's unfolding right now, things I've been preaching about since day one, being concerned with the system that's been set up to design to keep your capital in it, to earn fees off of your hard-earned income, wealth. And I'm thinking, like, okay, we got the cliche, or I use the cliche often: if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And we know that from a standpoint of physical metals. But I'm also like, okay, when it comes to the legacy system and the traditional financial structure that's been put up, that people have been encouraged and incentivized to invest into, with the idea of their income pot growing over time to be able to retire, yada yada yada. But I'm thinking, like, that is the only industry, in a sense, that if you can't insure it against times like this, then that could also be considered a gamble, because the risk falls on you. And as I always reference, we can insure every area of our lives, but you can't insure your stock portfolio, your retirement portfolio, your pension, your 401ks. You can't take out an insurance policy against that to protect yourself. So technically speaking, if you can't insure something, it's extremely risky, in a sense, because you take the losses, not the actual companies that you are that's operating on your behalf. So Yeah, but that's just something to remember, to remind you. And then also, because we can't control or change anything that's happening right now, it's only what you have done and what you continue to do from this point on. And so I focus on things I can control. And that's why, I've been more than excited to work on the RTD Silver team, where people are actually able to be proactive, redeeming fiat for currency. So I want to make sure I remind people that the RTD Silver team is operational. And if you guys want to participate in it, this is just some of the people that are in the program here, where you actually get a chance to take physical possession of silver and work towards building your own financial portfolio with silver. And so here are some of the people that's a part of the program here. So if you guys have interest, I'd encourage you to click the link in the description, and you can get yourself a hold of some of this hard-earned silver that's available for people who want to stack their stack. You know what I'm saying? So if you're interested, I encourage you to join the RTD Silver team. My goal is to help you take possession of yours and help others do the same. So links in the description if you guys want to. Okay, so let's get into some headlines, man. Let's get into some headlines this morning. Let's look at the market activity right now. And I'm more so interested in what buying opportunities are available when it comes to metals. And so as of right now, this is what we're looking like in gold and silver. And so as of right now, as it's showing us on the screen here, and it says change due to the performance of the USD is $15 positive. And overall normal trading due to the spot price, gold is down $67, silver is down $1.69-ish, platinum down $46, palladium down $41. And so a lot of red in the metals area. But then again, if we know that this is real money, everything else is credit or derivatives of money, then we know where to be. So once again, opportunities are out there. And then let's check into the crypto bubble area. And so this is the daily activity. And so this is what's happening out here. So people who speculate in this particular sector here, once again, the Fed will come in to juice the market. So things will turn green at some point. Where you're going to be? Are you going to profit off of this? Let me know. So what I'm keeping my eye on, of course, is the bigger boys. We got Ethereum, which is down at $21.94. And that is, let me see, that's $700 or so, 16% over the last day. And so that's something that I pay attention to. We got Cardano taking a little bit of a dip here. And a couple other things out there that interest me that I'll be checking in throughout the day. But anyway, let's get to what probably matters most to everybody else, and that is the legacy system, S&P 500. Right now, finance is down 2.9%. That's 3%. Banks is down 3%. Healthcare down 2.5%. Insurance is down 2.6%. This is what it looks like in real time. If I refresh my screen, this is what you see. This is what I see. This is what the world sees right now. At this current moment, we have the banking sector, financial sector, and the banking sector. And of course, banks make the world go round. And if they're not doing good, I mean, there's some problems. Banks right now, we got Wells Fargo, JP Morgan. Wells Fargo down 51, down 2%. Let me move myself so I can see my screen. We have JP Morgan down 2.3, Bank of America 3.1, Wells Fargo, Citigroup down 6.0. Okay, so yeah, Apple. So the big seven, as we witnessed in the bigger blocks, are problematic. So we'll see. Clearly, this is a warning sign that the Fed definitely will have to acknowledge. But what started me off this morning was a tweet that I want to share with you that caught my attention. Let me share this with you real quick here. And so this is from Raw Alerts. This came out at 9:48 a.m. It has reached so far 242,000 people have viewed this clip. And what stood out to me was this number. Over 1.93 trillion has been wiped out from the U.S. stock market so far today, as the NASDAQ had dropped 1,000 points. Officials say that NASDAQ has never been this low, not even intraday. So the pace at which the NASDAQ has dropped, according to officials here, has never occurred. So what exactly does that look like or sound like? Let's take a look at that. I was going to share that video. So we'll listen to just a quick 30-second excerpt from Fox.
Some would call it history in the making.
Don't say that. We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple. This is interesting. A question for you.
Never happened before. NASDAQ 1.93, and it's still early morning. So will a trigger be pulled? We'll see. But once again, this is just what the world is handling us right now. Okay, so let's get into what the possible response might be. This is as of 9:14 this morning, so an hour ago. Fed's Goolsbee says central bank will react to signs of weakness in the economy. Will react to signs of weakness. So is he still talking about just the mere expectation of a future interest rate cut? Or will this be a reaction based upon continuation of market trajectory? So we will find out. But real quick here, share with you what was mentioned here. Chicago Federal Reserve President stated on Monday that the central bank is prepared to respond to signs of economic weaknesses, hinting that the current interest rates may be too prohibitive. The current interest rates may be too prohibitive, meaning we're at that 5.25. Prohibitive, I'm taking that as like, okay, so because of market activity, a mere quarter or a mere half a point cut may not be sufficient. And so they may have to respond with something more substantial in the form of a single point, perhaps 2 points cut off the federal funds interest rate for starters. Because mind you, it's my opinion that as of right now, this 1.93 trillion that is, no longer available, no longer in people's portfolios, they got to make that difference up and then incentivize the markets to really bring back all that extra capital that is exiting right now. So I mentioned last night, just to get things back to normal, if we have a continuous market correction, we're going to need a minimum of 10 trillion, which means that they're going to have to work in collaboration with the Treasury. The federal government is going to have to come out with some type of announcement. Somebody's probably going to go before Congress again, similar to the .com or the great financial crisis, with the scare tactic of, the banks, the international community, we're in need of help. We're 20 minutes away from the market crashing type of narratives. And then they'll pass some type of, TARP 2.0 to try to kick things off. And based upon history, what we learned from that previous correction, based upon the losses the banks have taken, it pales in comparison. So literally, they won't be able to ask for a measly 1 trillion. They're going to have to ask for something substantial. So you kind of see where this is going. So if they want the markets to go back in the green, they're going to have to do something that will ultimately equate to ruining or debasing the currency further. So that's what we can expect. But real quick, it says, when asked about whether weakening labor market and the manufacturing sector might prompt action from the Fed, Goolsbee avoided commenting on a specific course of action, but mentioned it doesn't make sense to maintain a restrictive policy stance if the economy is softening. So clearly the economy is softening. We're witnessing that. It's been soft, but then again, they've been trying to paper it over and lie. The Fed's job is very straightforward: maximize employment, stabilize prices, and maintain financial stability. That's what we're going to do. So those three mandates: maximize employment, which more people have been laid off as ever. That's a part of their policy to cool inflation, stabilize prices, and maintain financial stability. So in order to maintain financial stability they're referring to happens to be from the indexes right now that we're witnessing in the red. So that means they will have to do something to respond. So as of now, that's what's going on. And I'd imagine this is something that they were talking about last night. For those who plugged in last night with me, I mentioned how last night about 10, 11 o'clock, when the Asian markets were basically the triggers were being pulled, they were halting action in South Korea and Japan. I was mentioning how the Federal Reserve, Treasury were all on a Zoom call. And they were basically talking about how they were going to respond this Monday morning over here. And it's good to say the Federal Reserve chairmen have been talking about what they're going to do. So we'll see. Mike says first cut will be aggressive, double-edged sword. Bigger the cut, the more gold and silver soars. Yeah, that is what it would be, man. That's what we can anticipate. And I for some reason, this is just my speculation here, I believe that what we're witnessing from the market standpoint to them is minor, because as I referenced last night, they've been preparing for market corrections like this. And this is not really a correction. This is just some tremors, I believe, to what will ultimately unfold. And so I can see them trying to weather this storm. And I referenced how will they do that? I've showed last night how there's a lot of military boots, a lot of military activity heading to the Middle East. So be on the lookout for some event sometime midweek if this market activity continues. And I showed last night how Lockheed Martin after hours stock prices surged, meaning that somebody was probably going to drop something somewhere. And so more monkey business says Nancy Pelosi has the inside info. Right. So I mentioned that last night as well. Just pay attention to the trades that were made by our Congress people. We can get an idea as to where things could head. Okay, here. So let's just check in real quick, man, and find out what's trending. And so I'm sure all eyes are on market activity. And so, look at this. This looks like this is some new stuff. Breaking. Multiple brokerages, including Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, UPS, CenturyLink, and Interactive Brokers are currently down and reporting errors amid market crashes. So literally, if all these financial houses are offline or people try to log on and it says, error, can't process right now, this is not the stock market pulling the trigger, stopping, halting operations. This is a deliberate stoppage of market activity from the retail space, meaning that average mom and Joe can't log into their accounts if this is true. So this is some stuff that clearly is not by accident. If you have all these powerhouses going down, then clearly there's a coordinated event that's happening here. If this is true, and this was 37 minutes ago. So let me just verify this more. Give me 1 second here. Try to find a recent story that's touching on this, because this is, if you can't run to the exit, then you're trapped in the system. Let me see. I see people sharing articles about this. And so, so basically the Raw Alerts news story is all there is. It's official. And I imagine we won't be getting anything other than this. And so, mind you, people, it's only 10:47 in the morning. And right now, for my people out there who have accounts with these firms, you might want to leave right now and go check and see. Or, log in and see what's up and let us know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if people who have accounts with these firms, if you can get in or you can't. Tom says shorts running off with 401ks again, ripped off in years. Biggest ripped off in years. Yeah. The only thing that won't crash is your council tax. Not sure what that is. This was supposed to happen a month ago when they tried to get Trump. Bob, great assessment there. That's a great angle there. A great angle there. So let me see what else is happening here. We got that here. Now nearly over $1 billion have been liquidated from crypto market in the last 24 hours. Yeah, so this is the big sell-off. And it's still early, man. That's why it's don't want to jump the gun, but when you have firms that are not allowing people to log in, because I'd imagine people are logging in with the idea of like, man, let me either get out, sell some stuff, let me try to do something. Ooh, okay, here's something else that looks like it's developing. Let me verify this before I put it out there. Give me 1 second here. So I may not be able to verify this, but it's coming from Macro Edge, another credible source. So here we have Biden's economic advisor has stepped down. So the day the markets are selling off, senior economic advisor steps down. And so is that a situation where he don't want to be associated with taking the heat on this? Because clearly, if this continues, then they're going to be expecting some type of response from the White House. And at this current moment, Biden is still president, even though he's went MIA. And so Biden will have to respond in some capacity, sharing his thoughts. And once again, because they're reactive, the only thing they can do is suggest some type of emergency measure. An emergency measure means currency creation, and that means more debasement of what we have. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks, King, for blessing me like that. So that's yeah. So literally, like throughout the day, there may be more developing narratives that come out. So just something to keep in mind, people. Yeah, let's see what Metals has done briefly in this announcement of activity. So let me check in real quick, see what gold and silver, how gold and silver's doing. And so once again, silver 27.14, 27.15. So literally, as anticipated, markets open here in the east, in the west rather, and we had a sell-off. Like nothing can look like it's a safe haven in the midst of a market meltdown. And so, mind you, they're dumping all types of paper claims to gold and silver. And the test will be, how does the gold and silver recover despite all of the stock market and bond market chaos that's happening right now? And so literally, it's going to take that much more work on the bullion bank's behalf to keep these prices from going green today when everything else surrounding the economy is in red. So that's they got a lot of people working right now behind the scenes to try to make sure that everything either remains red or the stock market goes green first. So we'll have to wait and see. But then again, like, my humble opinion, like, if this silver price you see on the screen here goes lower, I can guarantee you I'm gonna be backing up the truck. I'm gonna have to do a Michael Saylor. I'm gonna borrow and sell something quick. But then again, if you've been anticipating events such as this, I hope you have been redeeming fiat well before now, to where you have a position to where you're not as frantic as a lot of other people. Because mind you, as I always say, 99.99% of the population don't know that gold and silver is money, and that whenever market corrects, crashes, or whatever, the natural response is to run to safety. And now, because this is a global event, it's good to say the competition just won't be U.S. citizens. I'd imagine the Asian market, based upon how things ended there. And speaking of Asian market, let's check out how markets ended in Asia to see how things might open up tomorrow. Because you better believe the same amount of panic that people might be experiencing here, they're experiencing over there. And they've already gone through a full trading day of market activity. So let me go, give me 1 second here. I'm ranting a little bit, but feel free to throw your thoughts and suggestions in the chat, and I'll check in a minute. All right, let me see major indices. All right, so let's just take a glimpse right now. Okay, so we're about to look at the markets in general. Let's go back. So markets are closed in Asia, and let's just see how things ended in Asia. So markets are closed. And so let's look at what we got here. We got the Shanghai. Shanghai ended 1.54 down. We have to Taiwan weighted was down 1,000. We have the Kospi 8.77. That's out of South Korea. We have what else? Where's the Nikkei at? Where are we at here? We got what else? We got the Russian was down 2.62. What was the greatest losses? Germany was down. The DAX was down 2.13. I don't see give me 1 second here. What else we got here? So yeah, all the markets in the Eastern Hemisphere closed in the red. Down on average, looks like 2%, which is small. The Nikkei, okay, here we go. Down. So the Nikkei, the Japanese stock market, closed down 13.47%. And you better believe right now, the U.S. Federal Reserve is consulting the Japanese markets because, like I mentioned last night, by them hiking, going from zero to positive interest rates, has unwound that whole carry trade manipulation practice for the last 30 years. And so literally at 42,135 on, let me see, what was that? The July 10th, within a month, that boy went from 42,000 down to 31,000. That's a lot of losses, people. So mind you, when markets close here, they open there, and we're going to find out, will it be part two, or what will the Bank of Japan do to stop the bleeding over there? Because the bleeding started there, and it's going to spill over to everywhere else. So yeah, keep an eye on the Nikkei at about, what time is it? At about 9 or 8 p.m. No, 9 p.m. I think our time. It's just 12 hours. About 9 p.m. our time tonight. we'll be back at it again tonight talking about what's happening in Japan, because the Fed definitely will be looking to intervene. So, yeah, this is what's happening, man. Real time stats and facts, and it's not pretty. But then again, you guys knew something was going to happen. So, what are you guys thinking? You know, based upon my people who have a optimistic approach, what are your opportunities? What are you seeing out here? What are some things that you can perhaps suggest? Because we can't give advice here, but what are some things you can suggest to the community as ways and things to keep an eye on to take advantage of the opportunities that are presenting themselves right now? Because you better believe, as I mentioned last night, Uncle Buffett sitting on 277 billion. He was waiting on a fire sale, and he might be getting his fire sale pretty soon. More Monkey Business says, I'm buying more crypto. Okay. More Monkey Business. What are some things that look tempting to you right now? Throw out one or two of the projects that you keep an eye on. Perhaps it's something I'm not familiar with that I can keep an eye on. How do you think they will intervene? Pablo Pina. So yeah, right now, man, there's an international scramble. All central banks are talking, all governments are consulting. And of course, the World Bank, IMF, they're probably, literally so there's a Zoom call right now with maybe 1,000 different bankers all online. And the leading voices are not people that we're familiar with. Like, as of right now, Jerome Powell, he's just a puppet. Whoever writes his scripts is the one who tells him what to say when he goes in front of the public. He's not even a banker. He's a lawyer. He's not even a finance guy. So he's just a front man. So I would imagine the oligarch families that really control and have the most shares in all the globally systemic important banks, they're probably more so concerned with the derivatives market, because that's something that we won't know about until it blows up. But I'd imagine the intervention that we're going to see will be a unified approach, perhaps, of all central banks, either, massively cutting. Everybody's been doing, everybody who has cut, it's been a quarter. It's been either a single quarter as their first cut, or some banks are on a second cut of a quarter, meaning, a half a point. So literally, if they want to keep this thing stable to get the U.S. through this presidential election, because mind you, it's either get us through this election, because the election is the second most important aspect of this economy, because Harris has no real footing in proving that she is the viable candidate for the Democratic side. So it all depends on how they want to either buy time, or they may just decide to pull the plug. If they pull the plug, ain't no telling how they will respond. It's going to be emergency measures. All central banks will cut. The only thing that really can provide overall global liquidity is the Federal Reserve, because they are the bankers of bankers, and everything that we're witnessing is basically USD debt implosion. And so literally the Federal Reserve will call the shots. So the true people who run the Fed, which are the oligarchy families, the big bank owners, they're the ones telling Jerome Powell how they want to resolve this matter. And whatever they do, it's going to be in benefit of them first, not the consumer, not the investor, not the retail stock portfolio holder. Those people will end up being casualties, because this is all about transferring wealth out of the hands of the majority further into the hands of the few. So long story short, intervention will look like the Federal Reserve in cahoots with other central banks, all probably pivoting, massively cutting one to start off with, and then the government's coming out with some sales pitch of, we have to stop the bleeding. So we need to, patch this up, because you can't solve this. You can only patch it up. And so the Fed, 10 trillion within next couple of weeks, if this continues on. Europe does some type of ECB stimulus injection. Asia, they do some emergency measures. So this week will determine. It's too early to tell now, because it's not really massive pain yet. It's just a shock to the system is what we're witnessing. This is just a shock to the system, but it's the entire system though. So all this hinges on whether or not Japan market, in my opinion, opens up and drops even further. Because mind you, Japan has been the perfect monetary experiment that the world has been witnessing, run deficits funded by the government, where the central bank has been the owner of everything. And so another thing that comes to mind, if the Bank of Japan also owns more than half of government debt, and they own the actual stock market itself, they own a good portion of the Nikkei. And so the Federal Reserve might do another emergency type of announcement, and they come in directly to try to support the equities markets. Because mind you, when the mortgage-backed securities imploded during the GFC, they stepped in directly into the housing market. And right now, the Federal Reserve is the largest real estate owner in the world, because they're sitting on, I think, $2-something trillion worth of mortgage-backed garbage. And that debt is the ownership of all those houses that have been packaged up as a product. So they own real estate. And as of now, they don't own the stock market. So you have the Bank of Japan that owns stocks within their own country. You have the Bank of Switzerland, which owns stocks here in the U.S. as well. And mind you, Switzerland, they've been eliminating their exposure to U.S. stocks, such as the Big Seven, the Magnificent 10. So they've been selling off. And so I think they may have gotten a good portion of their, funds back. So they're not fully invested, but then again, they're going to take losses. So literally the holders of stocks, the Fed may have to come in and create another window, some type of temporary window to provide calm to the market. So I would probably suspect, just like the BTFP gave a lifeline to the banks, now it's time to extend the lifeline to the Wall Street directly in the form of some type of emergency measure for stocks. So those are just some things of intervention. But if real estate was a part of their portfolio, why not make stocks? And so Nvidia, NASDAQ, Tesla, all the big boys that have been positioned as the most important assets or most important metrics for the economy has been these stocks here. And the biggest blocks on the screen prop up the other 493 publicly traded companies here. So you got to support those top 7. So we'll see. But this is just some possible scenarios of what might, play out. But then once again, we knew that something was going to happen. We didn't know the magnitude and the speed at which it would occur. And literally, if this is the event that we've been anticipating, we're still in the first inning. So, yeah, this is just something that I'm sure you guys keep an eye on. And, depending on schedule, if something breaks, I might have to come back and keep you guys up to date. So pay attention. And other than that, man, be of good cheer. We knew that events had to unfold. There's nothing that's happening right now that's outside of God's point of reference or framework. And, this is where, from the spiritual sense, hopefully my prayer warriors been in prayer, just basically putting all this before the hands of the Lord, letting him do what he got to do, because through events like this is where faith is strengthened after loss incurs. And so people tend to return back into good favor or to good standing with the Lord after they go through some losses. And, this could be that turning point where there is a revival, in a sense, of people literally, drawing back to the Lord, man. And so just on a closing note here, I was, in prayer earlier, and I was thinking about, with all this political stuff going on, the primary word that politicians love to float around is the word democracy. The Democrats say against Trump, he's a threat to our democracy. And then Trump refers to them that if you don't elect me, we're going to go to World War III. We're going to have all these disastrous things. And both sides are using the word democracy as if that is the beginning and the end of mankind. But then again, for those who realize that that's a part of the propaganda tool, as I mentioned, I've been reading my propaganda book, learning how politicians speak to the public. So you can start, as you educated on the framework to which they lay out their speeches, you can see how there are certain things they use with buzzwords to implant ideas into your mind and get you to think that they're really speaking something of truth. But they're saying the same thing, just in different terms, pointing at each other, blaming each other. And we, the people, are caught in the middle. But the word democracy, and it in of itself has already been a failure, because democracy, ruled by the people on behalf of government, has already failed, because you just look at the lobbyists and all of the special interest groups that really write the legislation and fund the legislators that pass these laws. That's not democracy. If we were given choice to really choose what was best for us, it wouldn't be much of whatever comes out of DC. So democracy has already been lost. And I'm thinking like, okay, I expect that to be told, to be something they preach because they want to keep them in between policy and the people, which means it makes them, they want us to believe that they are the ones that can solve problems, but they can't. And I'm thinking like, okay, government is our biggest issue. DC itself is the problem. And all these events that are occurring in the markets will continue to occur because DC has been captured. Therefore, there's no real solving the problems. It's only papering them over, pacifying the people, and then them coming out with the solutions to the problem that they created. That's the core essence of the Hegelian dialect: problem, reaction, solution. Anyway, so I'm thinking like, okay, from a spiritual standpoint, I share my faith a lot. I've been doing it more often just because that's ultimately that really all that matters at the end of the day. Because none of this stuff goes over Bitcoin stocks. You can't take it with you. You can only hopefully position your family to, continue on your behalf. But I'm thinking like, okay, how do I make what's most important to me as well as to the world, which is the concept of rediscovering and tapping into the kingdom message that Jesus Christ himself preached. And so beyond making America great again, I don't know what that really means, but how about making the kingdom of God relevant in your life is something that I'm like, I would rather focus on that more than all the other stuff. But then again, I need something to talk about when I log in. But that's just something I'm going to leave you with. Make the kingdom of God relevant in your life. Now, what does that mean to you? Is something different from somebody else. But then again, it's all written within the fine, detailed print of the words in red in the Bible, referencing the kingdom, which is present through the Holy Spirit inside of believers right now. So there is hope beyond what we can see. Just trust that according to your faith. So anyway, that's just the last I wanted to talk about that. But, make the kingdom of God relevant in your life today. Whatever that means to you, chew on it, ask the Holy Spirit to give you revelation on it, and use it throughout the day. Smile, love, live, laugh, enjoy yourself. Because God is still good, despite what we're witnessing. But anyway, all right, my good people, that's all we're talking about for today. I'll be back probably. If there's some breaking news, you might see me again. So, feel free to leave thoughts, ideas, comments. Share this. If you like this, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. And if you found any value here, share it with your family and friends. Give them something to think about. And if you haven't already, you can't control anything happening now, but you can control your actions moving forward. And, of course, metal, gold, silver, money. Silver is nowhere near where it's going to go. Make sure you get involved with that. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. RTD Silver Team, links in the description. Check it out. If it's something for you, be a part of it. It's a great way to help yourself, save some, and earn an income. So it's a nice little network to be a part of so far. But anyway, be blessed, be safe, people. Shalom.